Unit 22. Exercise 1. Today we are using some 400 million plus tons of paper per annum in a global population of about 7 billion. But if we look at the anticipated population figure in 2045 of 9 billion, just on that basis alone, paper production will need to increase by 30%. On top of that, within our current population, not everybody is able to get a newspaper, or has a book to read, or has enough exercise books to write on at school. As their percentage increases, the demand for paper will also increase. We have limited land and a limited number of trees, and if we don't recycle, we will not be able to supply the 400 million tons we need today or meet the demands of an increasing population. Remember, of course, that within the 400 million tons we use today, about 200 million tons of waste paper is used in its manufacturing. 200 million tons of waste paper generates roughly 160 million tons of recycled paper. Therefore, if we didn't recycle, we would only have 240 million tons of paper, so there would be a shortfall, or we would have to use more pulp. Exercise 2. For years, companies and countries took their rare metal supply lines for granted, unaware of the material makeup of their products. In fact, in 2011, Congress forced the U.S. military to research its supply chains because the Pentagon was having difficulty determining which advanced metals is needed. As the materials that make up product components have become more varied and complex, those who rely on sophisticated hardware can no longer afford to remain in the dark. Now, corporate and government leaders are realizing how important rare metals are. Indeed, efforts to secure rare metals have sparked a war over the periodic table. In offices from Tokyo to Washington, D.C., in research and development labs from Cambridge, Massachusetts to Baotou, China, and in strategic command centers the world over, new policies and the launching of research programs are ensuring that nations have access. The struggle for minor metals isn't imminent. It's already here and is shaping the relationship between countries as conflicts over other resources did in the past. Exercise 3. The effects of climate change will fall most heavily upon the poor of the world. Regions such as Africa could face severely compromised food production and water shortages, while coastal areas in South, East, and Southeast Asia will be at great risk of flooding. Tropical Latin America will see damage to forests and agricultural areas due to drier climate, while in South America, changes in precipitation patterns and the disappearance of glaciers will significantly affect water availability. While the richer countries may have the economic resources to adapt to many of the effects of climate change, without significant aid, poorer countries will be unable to implement preventive measures, especially those that rely on the newest technologies. This raises fundamental issues of environmental justice in relation to the impact of economic and political power on environmental policy on a global scale. The concept of climate justice is a term used for framing global warming as an ethical and political issue, rather than one that is purely environmental or physical in nature. The principles of climate justice imply an equitable sharing both of the burdens of climate change and the costs of developing policy responses.